Xander.
But I love that theme music. Welcome to another episode of the My Movie Fix podcast. I'm your host, sir, and this is my safe place. I love talking about movies, and this is a place where I get my fix. Today, my guest to help me do so is once again none other than Sam.
What? I am back, and I've just been vibing
Indeed.
out to that intro music.
Yeah, I bought it like 3 years ago. Like the dude that makes it, I guess he sells beats to rappers or whatever. But I just liked it, and I'm like, can I use that for my podcast? He was like, hey, you pay me, it's whatever. So yeah, so shout out
It's
to
great.
Xander.
It's a vibe.
Indeed, I like it. We're back to back. We're just recording not too long ago, so today's episode might be kind of thin. We got to squeeze out some juice, but we're going to have some fun. We just couldn't resist not recording another one. The vibe is too good.
Yeah, it's too much fun.
Indeed. As you can see in the title, today's movie is The Tomorrow War. Sam saw it and said, you got to see it. So I did. I saw it, and today we're going to discuss it.
Oh, I'm excited. I
Indeed.
have feelings, but I'm excited to see what your opinion is.
I have different thoughts than I had on the last one, so I'm very excited to see kind of how this one goes and, kind of how our thoughts shape up on this one. So we'll see. The format, of course, is we're going to start with our movie fixes, where we rant, we get our movie takes off our chest. And then next, we're going to go to recommendations, something we saw that we recommend that you guys check out. Then we go obviously to our full review. Again, that's going to be The Tomorrow War, as you see in the title. And then, as usual, we like to give a little parting gift. We do a send-off, something that brought us joy during the week, something to help you power through your week. So that's the format. And without further ado, you're our guest, Sam. So do you have a fix, a movie take? And I'm going to try something out. I'm gonna relabel this. So going forward, thanks to my last one, this section is going to be called the How You Like Them Apples. So
How you like
here
them
we go.
apples?
How do you like them apples?
I'm having the booth set up. It's not very loud. I recorded it from the trailer, but he's talking through glass, so it's not very loud. But that's my drop. How you like them apples? Sorry.
Okay.
All right, let's go ahead, Sam.
Okay, so these are my apples, which I proffer to you on this fine evening of something that ties into our film today. Stop dumbing films down for audiences. We're not stupid. I get the majority of film goers probably don't want to have to do too much thinking in the background, but everything is so simple these days. Everything is so obvious. Nothing is explained. No one has a real different background anymore or anything that's involved. Everything is like, oh, this guy is the science guy and he does some science stuff and he's real good at science stuff and he just does this. But in the past it just feels like films weren't as obvious, I want to say. I guess this is my gripe, but it's not particularly well thought out, I want to say.
No, what particularly made you what was the impetus? What were you watching where you said, God dang it? What was the moment where you said, treat me like an adult? What was the movie you're watching?
The Tomorrow War. So,
okay.
We will get into it, I guess, a little bit more. But yeah. But spoilers, I feel like that particular film, when I'm watching it, there was a couple of times where I just rolled my eyes because I was like, okay, that's the explanation we're going for here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, okay. Save that for later. We'll get to it. Actually, I want to give you some pushback, okay?
Okay. Go.
So the last time we talked about Gunpowder Milkshake.
Yes.
In my opinion, that was a very dumbed down movie and you loved it. So square that circle.
No, I'm not saying that I don't love dumbed down movies. I will surprise you with a lot of times I do enjoy a stupid movie. But what I'm saying is that in the past, not everything kind of followed this format of making things super obvious for their audiences. They had a little bit of intrigue to them, or they had more of an explanation as to how someone knew something. It wasn't just plotted down in the plot or right out explained in your face at the start, like, hi, I'm Mr. Science Dude and I do science in this lab, or I'm an astronaut and I go to space, or whatever. It just, yeah, I
Yeah.
just feel like movies are kind of missing that level of involvement with the audience these days. Everything's kind of
Mm.
just sit and watch. Nothing's sit and think and go through this puzzle with me or build this world with me, if that makes sense.
Well, you gotta look for them. I would put it like that. They don't give the the deep thinker directors $200 million to make a movie anymore. They give them
Yeah,
50 million, and they spend 30 million on Oscar run or whatever, hoping to get an Oscar. But they don't spend the big money on the movies that make you think. They spend the big money on the movies that get the most butts in the seats, and they
yeah.
talk down to you, and that's what you get. But that is actually a perfect transition into my gripe, my movie fix, my how you like them apples moments. This is the one that really created this section of the podcast. This is the one that when I'm talking about my gears are grinded, when I'm
Mhm.
talking about the thing that happened in the movie that made me yell at the movie because I hated it. Okay, so speaking of dumbed down movies, Fast 8, I believe, the one after Paul Walker died. Was that Fast 7 or Fast 8? One of the two. When
The
I
one with
had to
one
be.
Ronda Rousey in it?
Honestly, I don't remember. They all kind of
The
blur
one in
together.
Dubai?
No, no, no. It was after that. The one where Dom had the kid.
Oh,
It had
okay.
to. Yeah, I think it had to be Fast 8, if I'm not mistaken.
I have
Maybe it
no
was
idea.
whatever. Anyway, the Dom having the baby is the point that I'm griping about.
Okay.
Okay, so this was after Paul Walker died, right? But in the world of the Fast and the Furious, Paul Walker was alive. He just, he went off with Jordana Brewster, and they did their own thing, and he gave up the dangerous lifestyle to start a family, whatever, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So in the world of the movie, Paul Walker is still alive.
Yes.
Yet, when Dom has a kid and has to name him, what does he name him? Brian,
Mhm.
the name of Paul Walker's character. That moment makes no goddamn sense because Brian's alive. Brian's 20 feet away, hanging out. Brian's a phone call away. Don't name him Brian. Why would you name your kid after his uncle or whatever? His uncle who's perfectly alive that you talk to and see all the time. You're not that close.
Yeah.
You actually didn't like him for 4 movies or whatever. He's just a guy. The
Yeah.
perfect, like, because the only reason they did that was for the audience, so the audience can well up and the audience can cry because the audience knows that Paul Walker died, so it's like a little
Yeah.
in moment or whatever. The perfect name for that child is Paul, because that's Paul. So it's the wink to the audience. It's the
Yeah.
exactly what you're talking about. It's being smart to the audience. It's you name the kid Paul because the audience knows that Paul
Yeah.
Walker died, but Brian's still alive. Brian's up the street. Brian's a fictional character that's still pounding away at Jordana Brewster. So when you name the kid, you name him Paul. Everybody in the audience breaks down in tears because Paul really died and blah blah blah. So when
Yeah.
they happened, that scene happened, and he named the kid Brian. I'm like, what the why? Because the whole time you're leading up to it, I'm watching. Oh shit, he's gonna name that kid Paul. He's gonna name him Paul, and I'm about to cry in this movie theater over Fast 8. And then he names him Brian, and I just get mad, and I've been mad ever since. Every time I see a commercial, every time I just, why would they, in the writer's room, nobody said, Brian's alive. Why is he going to name him Brian?
Yeah.
Brian's, so name him, because it doesn't mean, it's just a name to the characters in the actual show. Paul,
Yeah.
Brian, it does, if Brian's still alive. So Paul resonates with the audience. Paul makes the audience cry.
Yeah.
Brian is just it's just the name of the kid's uncle, So, okay. So yeah,
I
that has
mean,
bothered me for a long time, and I'm glad to get that off my chest.
I understand that. And out of all the things you could possibly rant about in the Fast series, I'm glad that it was the name of a baby in the
Yeah,
eighth one, because
sure.
I mean there were plenty of other
Yeah,
things that you could rant about for
yeah.
sure.
See, because
Uh
this elevates it, because dumbed down is one thing. You're used to flying cars and jumping out of spaceships and throwing grenades with your hand, whatever. But this is a moment that elevates the movie, and it could have made the Fast and Furious something more than what it was. It could have been that wink that made you. It could have been more, and
yeah.
you shit on it. So it's just frustrating. I'm
Yeah.
mad at what you could have been.
I mean, they are
Oh,
essentially very dumbed down movies. I don't
yeah.
understand. Admittedly, as someone who's never watched all of them and has only sporadically watched ones in between, I'm not quite sure how they get from the first one, where they're like street races essentially, to now being like international super spies working for like the government.
Yeah,
I'm not quite sure what the connection is. Maybe I
they
should just watch the films and find out, but
they made too much money dragging what is that safe through the streets of Brazil or whatever. Because up
oh,
to that point, it was like street racing and hijacking and Tokyo drifting. It was all car
yeah.
stuff. But once they started dragging that safe through the street and everybody loved it, the writers said, you know what, we're taking this shit to 11, and it hasn't stopped since. It's at 12, 13, 14, and now they're jumping out of space. I haven't seen Fast 9 yet, but I know there's something with space, so now they just pushed it to the limit. Because up till the point where they were dragging, even when they were dragging the safe through the street, it was still racing cars through the
Yeah.
streets. But after that, now we're doing helicopters, and now we're jumping out of planes and all that kind of stuff. So it's our fault, really. We gave them too much money when they dragged that safe, and they said, you know what, we're taking this to the next level, and they
Yeah.
haven't come down since.
They were just like, how crazy can these street races get? Can we, in fact, race in space? And if anything in today's news is anything to go by, if you're a billionaire, you can. So
Yes.
it's good to know that
Yeah.
movies are moving in the way of reality as well now.
Indeed. I think the quarter mile race was like 5 minutes, and both of those billionaires were only in space like 5 minutes. So it's art imitating life and life imitating art. We're there, people. We're here.
Exactly. We've made it. We're through the portal now. We're through the threshold.
Indeed.
This is the end.
Okay. That was our How You Like the Apples section. Hope you guys enjoyed that. And now we're moving on to our recommendations. So in the past, a few days since the last time we recorded, you have anything else you can recommend to the folks?
I can. If you are into true crime and you have a particular interest in the very sadistic and that you have a strong stomach, you can watch Night Stalker on Netflix, the series about the Night Stalker. I'm sure it's got a longer name than that. But it is a series covering the Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez, who was active in Los Angeles and California in the 70s. And he only went into people's homes if the doors were unlocked because he saw it as an invitation. And he was obsessed with the devil and the things that he did to his victims, and how he chose his victims made him particularly hard to track. They only found him with a shoe print, basically. He's an interesting character, especially the amount of victims he managed to take in such a short amount of time. Yeah, it was a fascinating documentary, and it was told from the point of view of the cops and the detectives who were hunting him down at the time, and how one of the cops was a Hispanic gentleman at the time in the 70s, and he was seen as kind of like a kiss ass trying to get up in the force and become a detective, and it was kind of covering their careers and how they grew and everything that went in behind the case and what was happening with the police and stuff, as well as like what was happening with these families and how the actions affected the relatives of the people who were killed. So it's just it's really interesting, and it's only 4 episodes long. Each episode is like 45 minutes, 50 minutes, so it's really easy to sit down and catch an episode in an evening. And it just hooks you in from the start. Yeah, it's fascinating.
I'm not a serial killer movie type. I mean, serial killer show type of guy. I don't know. Some people just love seeing how other people got killed, and it
Yeah,
makes me freak out. So that's not my genre.
yeah, I
But
get it. It's
yeah,
my kind of thing. I'm a little bit of a into the macabre, I would say. That's
yeah,
kind of my jam. So I'm more of a horror movie person. And I think we discussed that when I first joined the podcast, that horror movies were more kind of my thing. And I guess that bleeds over into reality, because I like to be reminded that at any point in time, there may be some dude who wants to incise me from, top to tail and rip my insides out. So it's
from
good to
top
stay
to
real.
tail.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. I'm actually the opposite with horror, because horror movies just kind of make me laugh because it's not realistic. It's like a lot of jump scares and silly stuff. But true crime stuff, that's scary as shit because I know this stuff really happened. So I'm like,
Yeah.
nah, I'm cool. So either way, I'm out. Either it's too
Yeah.
silly and it doesn't scare me, or it does scare me and I don't want to watch it. So
Yeah.
either way, I'm out on horror.
That's fair. I
But
mean,
that
it's not for
is
everyone.
that's the Night Stalker: Hunt for a Serial Killer, available on Netflix right now. And actually, I have a bunch of Netflix stuff as well. I don't have so much recommendations. It's more just stuff that I've been watching because I've been watching it, but I'm not in love with any of it, so I don't know if I can recommend it, but I will just talk about it for a bit. I watched
Okay.
season 1 of Halt and Catch Fire. I heard it was pretty good.
I've
A
not
lot of
heard of that.
people kind of like it. Yeah, it's like I said, Netflix has just so much stuff, and it just gets buried. So, I guess it has a certain selection of people, not selection, certain group or fan base or whatever, people that just love it. And like every time a show gets canceled that I've never heard of and people get mad about it on the internet, I don't care. But for those people, the only 8 people that knew the show existed, they love it and they get mad when it gets canceled, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Halt and Catch Fire, it's like a business show in the 80s about like not a startup, but kind of how a group of people create a company or make a company bigger. I started watching it because it stars the pie maker, Lee Pace. I'm a big fan of Pushing Daisies. It's one of my favorite shows of all time,
Yeah.
even though the last couple of episodes were absolute garbage. I hated the last couple of episodes. I feel like they knew the show was getting canceled, so they kind of just went down the hill or whatever. But yeah, I really like Pushing Daisies. And Lee Pace is in it. He's really good as like not schmarmy, but like he's the corporate business guy type. He'd be like really good in Succession if you watch that.
Yeah.
He's like one of those type guys, but kind of dark and like he's got a haunted past or whatever. But it's a pretty good show. I really I like the storyline because it's kind of different, and I like seeing the tech aspect of it and kind of seeing how a business grows or whatever, but kind of uneven. And Lee Pace's character, even though I love parts of it, they kind of jump the shark with kind of how his character is or whatever. So again, like I liked it enough to keep watching because I kind of want to see where it goes. But once I finished season 1, I never kind of got that urge to go back and watch season 2. So it's just one of those kind of things. So it's good, but not great. And there's so much TV out there. I feel like I'd rather just start something else and see how it goes rather than devote another 10 hours or whatever to season 2. Yeah, that's Halt and Catch Fire on Netflix. And your recommendation from last time, Sex Life, I actually checked out the first episode of that.
Oh,
and
nice.
It is a lot. So
yes.
I was like, I'm a guy, so that kind of stuff gets my juices flowing. But the first 5 minutes, it starts with like a sex scene. So this episode is going to have an explicit tag on it, and if you're listening with your kid, you're going to have to skip forward, 4 minutes because this show is all about the dirtiness. So if you're watching with a kid, skip forward a few minutes. But so this show starts like the very first 5 minutes or whatever. It starts with her like flashing back on having sex with, I don't know if it was just an ex-boyfriend or lover or just whoever it was, right? And then it leads up to what the show is with him sucking on her nipples, and then hard cut to the baby sucking on her nipples. It's like a 5-year flash forward. She's got kids, and the baby sucking on her nipples. I'm like, what? I'm a man, okay? I'm a warm-blooded American man. You can't show me a guy sucking on a girl's nipples and then a hard cut to a baby sucking. Like, what is that supposed to do to me mentally?
I thought it was weird.
Yeah,
and it made me kind of freak out a little bit as well that she was thinking about that when she was feeding her baby. Is that not a little bit weird? Everyone I've talked to about breastfeeding has said that it's not a pleasant experience. So I feel like, I don't know it. Yeah, it was just, it was weird. I agree.
That kind of juxtaposition, it was kind of indicative of how I felt about that whole first episode. Like the director really wanted the titillating stuff, but was also trying to tell a story that meant something or whatever, and because she's basically, she used to be, how do I say, promiscuous? She used to be promiscuous, and now she's settled down, and it's kind of like a quote unquote good guy's worst dream. It's a girl that used to be promiscuous, and he does all the right things. He's making a shitload of money because that house is huge.
Oh yeah,
he treats her right. He doesn't cheat on her, all that kind of stuff, and she's bored out of her mind because he doesn't have sex with her like the old guys used to. So. But
she's woe is me in my giant house. My husband doesn't fuck me like my ex-boyfriend does.
Yeah. And even I expected him to be just terrible, like, super small
I
meat and
know.
just comes super quick. But it's like, no, he's just regular. It's
Yeah.
just, it showed him showing just regular, married people sex that have been married for X amount of time. And she was
Yeah.
like, it's just not, the other guy used to bend me over the balcony and choke me. It's just not the same, you know?
Yeah,
So,
like God
yeah,
forbid that you could just turn to your husband and just be like, "This is getting a bit vanilla, isn't it?" And
yeah.
invite something else into the bedroom. Instead, she's like, "Oh my, I wish my husband does this thing that I liked that my ex-boyfriend did, but I'll never tell my husband about it because he'll feel weird about it." No, just
Yeah.
tell your. This is a message to all your ladies out there. If you're listening, just tell your husband what you want. Just tell him,
Yeah.
and he will listen because he wants to make you feel good. All right, he's your husband. That's why he married you. Trust me.
And,
Okay, so that's my rant. Go.
no. But even from like a directorial standpoint, like even what you just said, where the phrase was, I used to have this with my ex-boyfriend and now I kind of have a dud with my husband. That could be said in a sentence. In a movie, that would be like a 30-second montage of flashbacks of old boyfriends and then the new sex is kind of whatever. But
Yeah.
in the show, it's like 10-minute scene. It's like they really show the wedding and they show the date with the old boyfriend, and then they like show like 45 to like 2 minutes of the sex scene with the husband before she goes to mediocre sex. It's like
Yeah.
that could have been a line, you did. So like that's my whole problem with the show. It's just like it's stretching out the sex stuff for the titillation, but it's also trying to toe it the line of being that, like
Yeah.
you were saying, the Sex and the City type show before, where they actually try to have real drama and real relationship stuff or whatever. So it's just, I understand some shows can mix those two things, but it's got to be a mixture. If this show is just trying to basically be both at the same time, and it's just, again,
Yeah.
I'm a warm blooded man, so I finished the whole thing because I like seeing boobs. But at the end of the day, it's not. It's just too. I don't know. Like I watched the first episode, but I'm probably not going to go back because I get it. I know what I'm going to get if I keep watching.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I made Andrew watch it with me too, and he watched the first 2 episodes with me, and then was like, "It either has to be one thing or the other. It can't just be trying to be both things. It can either be porn or it can be a TV show about drama in a married couple's life. It can't be
Yeah.
both at the same time." But it is essentially, like I said, original softcore porn where you get a lot of exposition for like 5-10 minutes of a sex scene, and then you go into the next, like 15 minutes of exposition, and then you go into the next sex scene. It's that kind of like format. So I
Yeah.
can see why women like it when they're just like, because it essentially panders to women, that like understanding the feeling behind the sex and the emotion that goes on in the background of relationships that leads up to the sex. So I kind of get it, but it is very over the top.
Yeah. I just, like I said, it's not bad. I feel like a better director could have made this a much more compelling show.
Yeah.
Cut down on both the super long sex scenes that don't really lead to anything for the plot, and then kind of tie the plot in better. And I feel like it would have been a good show worth watching. But as it is, I'm like, I'm cool.
Yeah.
This is a show for 15-year-old boys and girls for different reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. My last little show, sorry, that was Sex Life again on Netflix. And then my last little thing, again, a Netflix show, is, this will be quick because I didn't really care for it. So I Think You Should Leave. I don't know if I call it sketch comedy show or kind of, it's a lot of little vignettes. A lot of people actually been talking about this show, and they just released season 2, and there was a whole lot of praise for it on like the Twitters and the film websites, and like I heard it on different podcasts. People really love this show, but it's not for me.
Yeah.
It's basically a sketch show of, if you've watched the Larry David show Curb Your Enthusiasm, where something kind of awkward happens, but with Curb Your Enthusiasm, that awkwardness is kind of, you watch it, how it affects his day.
Yeah.
The awkward is kind of stretched out, and and then there's kind of a scene at the end where it's it's super awkward. Hey, I'm just an
Yeah.
awkward guy, whatever, and you laugh at kind of the awkwardness of it. So with I Think You Should Leave, that's really condensed into like a 4-minute skit where it's just super awkward, and they double down on
Yeah.
it, and it's really just I felt like it was humorous. Like I'm watching it and I understand how this is a funny situation, but I'm not actually laughing, and
Yeah.
I want to laugh, So it sounds like you've seen this. Have you seen the show?
I've seen an episode of it. It kind of reminds me of, and I would say people that enjoyed this show would enjoy this one. Kind of like The Office kind of style comedy, but like British Office,
Yeah.
British The Office, and that kind of like awkward it's not funny because it's funny because someone's embarrassed, or it's just kind of socially awkward. And if you're not the kind of person that enjoys that kind of humor, then it's not for you. And I'm certainly not that kind of person, because I can't even stand 2 seconds of any of the Office shows because they're just too much for me. I get so easily embarrassed.
Yeah, it's that, like, if there's a scene in either a movie or a TV show where I'm gonna get secondhand embarrassment, I just kind of skip forward because I get it. I know it's about to happen, but I can't physically, just the cringe factor. I just physically don't want to watch you get that embarrassment that I know is about to come to you in the next 30 seconds. I'm just gonna skip forward because I can't. It's just
Yeah.
it's like nails on a chalkboard. Just watching somebody get that embarrassment coming to them or whatever. It's just so.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
with you right there. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's not a comedy for us, but some
Yeah.
people do enjoy that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
So
I think I saw, what was it? Seth Rogen was like, "This is the funniest, show out. It's mind bending and blah blah blah." And it's just,
yeah,
I'm watching it like I get it, but it's just I'm not laughing. I'm not, so
yeah, you're just sweating
yeah,
quietly in a
yeah,
corner.
yeah. So I mean, it's not even that to where I'm getting a second. It's just awkward, and it's like, okay. In my head, I think about 30 Rock, because 30 Rock was funny. Again, it's not to the point where I'm laughing out loud, but
Yeah,
I still found it funny and I enjoyed watching it. But this doesn't even, no. I think You Should Leave is just not, It's like I get it, but not for me.
yeah.
But yeah, so that is our recommendations, and that is going to lead us to our full review of The Tomorrow War.
Okay, none of you are my child. Has anyone seen Miri? Aww.
We are fighting a war 30 years in the future.
Is it a joke?
Our enemy is not human. We need you to fight.
You got drafted.
I will be back.
All right, that was from the trailer of The Tomorrow War, Amazon Prime's new movie, directed by Chris McKay, starring none other than, is it Chris Hemsworth? What's the Chris? Which Chris are we talking about
Chris
today?
Pratt.
Chris Pratt.
Yep.
Wonderful.
That Chris Pratt himself.
Of the Chris's, how do you rank them?
How do I
Who's your
rank
favorite?
them? My favorite Chris.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Chris Pratt, Chris Hemsworth, and Chris, what's the
Pine?
Star Wars one? Chris Pine.
Yeah.
Me personally, I got to go Hemsworth, Pratt, Pine. Pine just doesn't, I don't know, he doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, I think Pine is last for me too. I think Hemsworth and Pratt are kind of even for me though, because they both have their own unique charms that equal for me. I can't separate them.
Until this one, I could agree with you, but now Hemsworth gets that number one spot for me.
Okay, I see the direction we're going here. I like it.
Indeed. Okay, so jumping into this one, the general plot is that, let me see if I can figure this out. There's a war that starts 30 years from, when is this movie set? 2022. So there's a war that starts around 2050 or so between aliens and humans. The aliens start getting their butt kicked. But in the 30 years since 2022, humans have figured out a very basic method of time travel. And they use that time travel to come back and get humans from 2022 to fight in the war in 2052.
Yeah.
If that doesn't make any sense to you, don't worry about it. That's not what this movie's about. It's not about sense. It's about just action and having fun. So yeah, that's the basic premise, plot, what have you. So
Yeah,
that said, what are your thoughts? How'd you feel about this movie, Sam?
So I liked it. Obviously. So I enjoyed it. I thought the concept in general could have worked if it had been written completely differently. The concept could have quite worked and it would have been really interesting. I do like the cast. It did seem to be more of like I kind of got the feeling after watching it that it was kind of supposed to be more of a tongue-in-cheek horror comedy that didn't take itself too seriously, which is why it didn't make too much sense. But that even then, that's me loosely grasping at straws to try and pull it back a little bit. But I thought it was entertaining. The action scenes were great. It was tense in places. I thought the introduction of the white spikes, the monsters in the movie, was really good. I thought it was really tense leading up to that moment. Yeah, my gripes are with the concept most of all, but I thought as an action movie, it was entertaining. I don't know if you
Yeah.
felt the same.
So the reason I kind of talked about it earlier, how I did. So I watched this movie basically in two parts, right? I watched, I don't know how this movie's, what, 2 hours long, something like that? No, 100, oh, wow, this is a long movie. It's a 138-minute movie. Yeah,
Yep.
so I watched roughly the first hour or so, and I was blown away because I saw reviews saying that this was garbage and it was trash and like this was so silly and it doesn't make any sense. And, so I went into this, the reason we're doing this is you saw it and you were like, we should do it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, I hate movies. What's another one? What's another episode of me trashing a movie? Let's do it. So
Exactly.
I watched that first hour and I was shocked because for me, it was a huge flip because I went into it super negative, expecting to hate it. And when that first hour was going, I'm like, this is awesome. I love this movie. I don't understand why people said this made no sense. Of course, it's a little silly with the time travel, but this is dope. Whoever directed this is awesome. This plot is making all kinds of sense, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
That was right about, just for those who have seen it without spoiling anything, this is right about the point where the movie stops being about one person and kind of sort of starts being about two.
Yeah.
So right about that point is where I had to stop and leave. And then I came back to finish the movie later. And then I was like, okay, I understand. I understand.
Yeah.
I understand the hate for this movie now because the second, 2/3 or half or whatever this movie, it's a very sharp decline in terms of quality, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I
it was building and it was building and it was building and it was
yeah.
looking great. And then
Then the decision stopped making any sense. The action stops making any sense. It starts to get a little, okay, I get why people hated it.
Yeah.
That said, I feel like I had so much fun in that first half that I gotta end up, if it's, which side, I think I'm 51% green and 49% red. So I think I'm actually with you on this one. I think I
Yeah.
had fun and I think I'm going to call this a W in my book. I think I enjoyed this.
Yeah, exactly. That was how I came out. Like, it was enjoyable. I had fun. That was all I kept thinking about.
Yeah.
And then I would try and pick the plot apart, and it was like, well, they did kind of answer my questions a little bit, because that's what I found. Every time I had a question watching the movie, within like 20 minutes, they'd answered that question. Or they'd thrown something in there that kind of plugged the hole a little bit. There was enough for me to be like, all right, that kind of works. I'll take it. I'll take it. It's entertaining. I'll take it. I won't think about it too much. So yeah, so that was where my gripe came from this week, was that it was a really great movie and then it got very dumb. Got very dumb. But
I fully understand your gripe earlier about getting dumb, because this goes to some real dumb places.
yeah.
but again, like when I don't know why I'm hypocritical, because last week I'm like, you can't say you had a good time because this movie, Gunpowder Milkshake, was so dumb and blah, blah, blah. I can't look past all the flaws and blah, blah, blah. But this one, I'm like, you know what? I had a fun time.
Yeah.
I had a fun time. It's not perfect, but I like this movie. So I don't know. So without getting into spoilers, can you talk a bit more about pieces you liked, their general plots? You talked about the aliens, what do you think about the aliens here?
I liked them. I thought they were creepy. I thought that they were odd looking enough and weird enough that I could believe that they weren't from this planet, or at least, not of something that's come about recently. The fact that they were so vicious and so kill hungry was kind of terrifying as well. And the idea that, yeah.
Especially one in particular.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
So they really reminded me of the creatures from Live, Die, Repeat. I think that's the new name of the movie, but
Oh
it
yes.
yeah, so
This
like
kind of
they
did
were
remind me of that a little bit. They were the monsters were kind of a mix between the monsters in that film, Live Die Repeat. I've forgotten. Yeah, I've forgotten the other name for it as well. But the monsters from A Quiet Place, like that kind of like alien, quick moving, bigger than a human,
with
fast
the
paced.
tentacle arms and
Yeah, and just like the fact that an average human has literal no chance against this monster. You've got
again,
zero chance unless
I'm
so
not
without
gonna
getting
say
into too many
zero,
spoilers.
yeah.
Yeah, but
Without,
yeah, it's pretty crazy.
but yeah, Edge of Tomorrow. So
That's it.
it's like but like without I don't think it's a spoiler to say they basically have like built-in guns or whatever. They can like shoot things out of their arm or whatever. So I thought that was kind of cool, but I don't know how that works. Like is it like with teeth where you're just born with a set amount of darts or whatever and you can shoot them, or do they regenerate? I have
Yeah,
no
do
idea how
they?
that works, but yeah, it was like I said, and I liked how, well, I guess I sort of liked it, but we'll complain about later how they didn't show the aliens at all for about 45 minutes or whatever till you get to one scene and then boom, here they come, and now you kind of attack them. I know, I thought that was pretty cool. The story itself, I'm gonna give a quick plug to Not Your Father's Movies. They're a show that talks about quote unquote dad movies, and
Yeah,
I sent him a tweet earlier today because I don't think there's been a more dad action movie that I've seen either ever or in a long time. This is
yeah.
without going into to spoilers. This is like a double dad movie. they
Hell yeah.
super double down on the dadism of this movie. So I
Yeah, I
thought that
100%
aspect was
recommended
pretty
this
dope.
film
Yeah,
to my dad as well. Like
yeah,
the day after I watched it, I was like on WhatsApp to my dad and I was like, "So, this film, you need to check it out almost immediately because you will love it."
yeah. And I mean, just as a dad, it's dope, but also like the messages are kind of like dad-y. So
Yeah.
I don't know. So yeah, so there's yeah, we're gonna get into spoilers pretty quick on this one because you're not watching this one because you want to be blown away by the plot. You're not watching
Yeah.
this one because you like the director Chris McKay. He's done what the Batman, not the regular Lego movie, but the Batman Lego movie. He's
Yeah.
done the Doolittle movie I never saw. According to Wikipedia, he's done. I think that's it. No, he did. Yeah, he's done something called 2 Weeks, 1 Year. I don't know what that is. I guess it's one of his first movie. But yeah, that's all he's got under his belt. So you're not watching this for the director. You're watching to see Chris Pratt be a big action star, and that's what you're gonna get.
Yep. Exactly. That's what you read on the tin is exactly what you're going to get, and it's not massively smart, and it's not going to be the most amazing scientific film you've ever seen in your life, and it's not going to be you know, everything you want it to be, but it is going to be the greatest action movie you've ever seen in your life in the last year, at least. So
Yeah, not,
it's good.
not,
It's entertaining, and that's the best way to describe it. It is
yeah,
entertaining, funny, and terrifying in places too. So it's got
yeah.
all the emotions you could possibly want.
Yeah, all the people who saw Gunpowder Milkshake and said, I thought it was awesome and blah, blah, blah. Those people are the ones saying this is the best movie they've ever seen. I'm not on that
Exactly.
boat, but I'm definitely on the boat saying I had fun, I liked it, and I can recommend it. Before we get to spoilers, I do want to give a quick shout out to J.K. Simmons because he's an awesome actor. He looked like I fully believed him as the character he was playing, but besides that, he was he's swole. I don't know if he's doing that
Yes.
for another role or just he just thought that this character would be so. He's like I can understand why Miles Teller's character in Whiplash was scared the shit of him because he could look like he could whoop my butt.
Yeah.
Like
He
he's like
was
he was
huge.
super, yeah.
I as soon as he appeared on screen when we were watching it, I was like, "Bro, he's so ripped. Like he's like fucking huge, bro. Like what the hell?" Like I remember him as like, "Get me pictures of Spider-Man and get them to me now, damn it." Like I remember him as that guy and the slamming of the fists. So I don't remember him as this guy that could rip several telephone books in half and then eat like a rock size style pancake platter in like 10 minutes. Like he's looking buff, and I'm super proud of him because he's not young.
Yeah, I don't. I didn't check his IMDb like he's doing it for another role or if that was for this, but he's killing it. He reminds me of Stephen Lang's character from Avatar, the general guy with the scars across his face or whatever.
Yeah.
I feel like he would fit perfectly in that role, just because that's the guy he's given in this. So again, the first half is better than the second because it kind of whatever. But yeah, I think his character was really dope in this one. I really enjoyed it, and I also want to give a quick shout out to Edwin Hodge. He plays another soldier that fights in the quote unquote the Tomorrow War. I like it. He's
Yeah.
Aldous Hodge's brother. I think I shouted him out
Oh, yeah.
2 episodes ago, or was that last episode? The guy from Leverage.
Yeah.
It's his brother. Yeah, so you can just looking at their faces, you can tell that these guys are brothers. But he's awesome in this. He's plays like he's got a little bit of PTSD, but he's just like a soldier that wants to go out in war. I don't know if they gave him his just desserts in this movie, but his character was awesome. I really enjoyed watching him. You have any thoughts about it?
Yeah, he played a really cool role in it. Like, I could fully understand his want and his need. I think, didn't he? I think he explained either he has cancer and only has 6 months to live, or his wife had cancer and died.
He did. I was trying not to say that, but you cared about that as a spoiler.
Sorry, I forgot we weren't in the spoiler section yet. But yeah, I feel like he got what he wanted in the end of it. Like, I feel like it kind of completed his arc how he wanted it to be completed.
I don't think it was portrayed the best, but I do think that was kind of what his character was going for.
I could see what it was, and I could understand it. So yeah, I kind of liked that. It was kind of a nice little bit of a emotion to add in there. So, but
And speaking of that kind of of his situation, I did want to give a quick shout out to Jasmine Matthews. She played like a badass lieutenant or whatever. And absolute fucking gorgeous. But she had I didn't like the way she went, I'm giving away spoilers, but I didn't like the way her character finished this movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of female empowered characters, I want to put it, in this movie. Like there isn't just like, there is the wife character who's just the wife whose only job is to, care about her husband or whatever. But there are other female roles that actually have weight and have merit. And, I really like that about this movie, because even, quote unquote, better movies that are more highbrow, that try to incorporate female characters really just for the sake of having female characters, they don't do it right. And I do think the characters in this movie, they weren't female for the sake of being female. I think they're just badass females doing their job, and I think they worked well in this movie. So I do appreciate this movie for that.
Yeah, I feel like they could have given the script for any of the female characters to a male character, and you wouldn't really have known that it was written for anyone else. I did like that as well, that the female characters weren't really treated any differently to the male characters. It wasn't, like you said, nothing made them special in this. Yeah. It was very much about the universe and survival and getting to the next point in the story and the plot and what's happening.
All right. While we're going through the actors, I think the final one I want to talk about here is Sam Richardson. He plays like a scientist guy, and we'll get to my complaints about that. But I don't know, he's been killing it. Like, I've seen him. I think I first saw him in Veep. I think playing just like a small role, whatever, but he's been doing bit roles like in all kind of stuff, and now he's kind of moving up to not sidekick, but side character in a $200 million action movie. So that's man, it's dope for him. Like him and like Aldous Hodge, just like their careers are kind of, you've seen him in a bunch, and now you're seeing him kind of get to a higher level. So I'm happy for him for that, and I did enjoy his character. He was like the comedic release or whatever the phrase is, but he played that character, and I thought, he was pretty dope in this.
Yeah, he was really good. He made me laugh. He's got one of those faces that's just really nice to look at as well. Like, he's just got a happy face even when he's not happy. Yeah. So yeah, he was a nice addition to the cast. And like you said, I've seen him in a couple of different things, but it's nice to see him get the recognition and the role he deserves for his acting talent. Yeah, he did really well. I enjoyed him.
Indeed. All right. Well, I was trying to go just piece by piece through the actors so we could talk about the little pieces without talking about the little pieces. But I feel like I'm giving away too much, so we might as well go ahead and dig into the spoiler section. So before we jump into spoilers, any last thoughts you have on the movie?
Yeah, I guess probably the same recommendation or the same thought that I had with Gunpowder Milkshake. Don't go into it expecting something incredible. and it's going to answer all your questions, but you will go into it and find something entertaining. So it's definitely worth a watch. Definitely watch the movie before you get into spoilers. So yeah, and we've already spoiled a little bit, oops, but it will appeal to certain people more than others. So I liked it. It's good. Watch it.
Yeah, and I think for me, the perfect way to consume this movie is what you are doing right now. And when I say you, I'm talking to the listener. If you haven't seen it and you enjoyed the conversation up to this point, go watch the movie. You're going to like stuff about it. You're going to have fun, and you're going to hate stuff about it. And after you hate stuff about it, come back and listen to the second half of this podcast. And you're going to laugh and you're going to say, yes, yes. And that's going to be the enjoyment, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of the so bad it's good type movies. I wouldn't necessarily call this so bad it's good. I think you legitimately have some fun, and it does have some good moments in it. So I wouldn't call this that. But with movies like this, you have fun watching it, but then you have a little bit of fun on the back end, talking to other people, or just listen to a podcast where people shout out the dumb stuff, and you go, "Yes, that was super dumb,"
Yeah.
and you laugh along with it. So I call that a recommendation. So I guess for this, as I was hoping for last week, I want to discuss a movie with Sam where we both enjoyed it. That's what this is. So.
Exactly. This is it's a rare, but it finally happened, and I'm glad that we're both on the same page with it. That it's we both enjoy it. We both have our complaints, but the complaints weren't enough to take out the enjoyment of it.
Hey, all right. So from this point forward, spoilers for the Tomorrow War.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
All right, we are in spoilers. Sam, you are my guest. What do you want to talk about first?
Oh, where to start? I don't know. I need you to give me a reference point.
Okay, so I wrote down my biggest gripes, my biggest things that I was super mad about. My first one. So again, up until the scene I stopped where I cut it off last time, where I was kind of alluding to before, is the Humvee scene. So he meets up with his daughter. They have their little tender moment. I'm still with the movie up to that point. He drops down. He fights off the female or whatever. Then they start driving away in the Humvee. You know, that's where I cut off. And when I came back, it felt like everything got super dumb.
Yeah.
You know? So they go to the super secret military base in the middle of the water, and they just chain the lady, you know, the female up, and they say, I'm just giving her like the 200 milligrams of sedation every hour. And I'm watching that saying, okay, so something's going to go terribly wrong. It's not going to be enough sedation. Something's going to go terribly wrong.
Yeah.
And so I guess the alien is super smart. They understand what human technology is, and the female is just waiting it out, you know, pretending to be asleep, waiting for the humans to figure out the 100% potent vial or whatever it is. And as soon as they get the 100%, she starts shouting. And within literally like 3 minutes, the whole place is just swarmed with aliens. So literally, I guess the whole time, all the aliens were like 3 minutes away, just waiting for that signal, you know? So
yeah,
it all got really dumb really fast.
Yeah. And I don't understand, like, obviously this is like some super secret military base out in the middle of the ocean. But if the aliens could have swam there the whole time, why didn't they swim there the whole time? Like, it falls into this trap of like setting things up because it's convenient for the story. But at any point in this world, that could have happened. And I don't understand why it didn't happen. I figured when I first saw the base that they were out at sea because the aliens couldn't swim. So they were safe out at sea. But then that was disproved. Yeah.
And if you're gonna be in the water thing where they can come out to, you're gonna need more than, like, you know, even if it was like 200 what's the name for the underwater bomb thing? Mines.
Yeah.
You're gonna need more than like 200 mines, you know, you're gonna need thousands. You're gonna need those mines to go out for miles, you know.
You need them
It's
in
just
all directions. You need constant surveillance on all borders. Like,
there was a whole bunch of boats, but those boats did nothing.
Those
You
just
know?
got destroyed and overran. So what was the point in the boats? Like, I feel like there could have been more explanation of this base and stuff. Like, it was kind of very much, and you know, it's a lot This movie was really long as well, but it doesn't feel like a long movie because it's constantly moving, like it's constantly jumping from one point to the next with little to no explanation between. And then eventually you get a little bit of explanation about something that happened like half an hour ago, but it's not something that's explained at the time and you're left wondering about it for ages. And then eventually they're like, oh, but by the way, this is why this happened. And you're like, oh, okay.
And
Cool.
so all the aliens are running as fast as they can to get to the female or the queen or whatever. And they're about to leave. And I forgot Chris Pratt's character's name, James, Dan Forrester.
Dan Forrester,
He
yeah.
goes, we have to kill her. And his daughter goes, there's no time. It's like, no, she's chained up. A bullet's going to take like 8 seconds. And then,
Yeah.
the aliens are going to stop running as fast because the queen's dead. She's literally calling them to him. So if she's dead, that's done. But there's no time.
Yeah.
We can't take 10 seconds to shoot her.
And can we talk
And
about
then-
how she's like supposedly this really vicious killer? They're really trusting, number one, that the sedation works, but number two, that those chains are going to do anything if the sedation fails. Like, if she's this big, huge killer and she's the most vicious out of them all, and we've seen these aliens literally rip their way through things, surely she could rip her way out of that really easily. So why do you not have more precautions? And why is it just the scientist lady Miri in the room by herself with no protections whatsoever? And then her dad just comes in and is like, so, okay, this is cool.
And apparently she's the president, she's the prime minister, she's the chief doctor, she's everything. Because everybody's just, they're just sitting around waiting for her to do her thing. And she runs the show.
Yeah,
and
she's the savior. She's the one. But it kind of falls into this, like at the start of the movie, Dan's character is talking about how he wishes he could have done something with his life. And it's this film is like that self-fulfilling prophecy of like, he said at the start of the film that he wanted to do something that was life-changing. And he does, but it's not really him that does it. It's his daughter in the future. So, it's just...
So, all right. So the moment when I jumped off the movie. So up until that point, everything was getting dumb, but I was like, you know what? The first half was so good, we can work our way out of it. So they're trying to get away to the helicopter. In which case, why is the helicopter just sitting there waiting for him to come? Because he could just lift up. Like the helicopter can come to you a whole lot quicker than you can go. Anyway, the helicopter gets taken down by the crawler things, and they're laying like sitting in the, on the ground or whatever, kind of by themselves, waiting for her to die because she got hit with the alien, gun bullet or whatever. And right when she's just getting ready to accept her fate, the queen comes out of from nowhere, just crawling. It's like, okay, I hate the Murphy's Law shit movies where anything that can go wrong does go wrong. It's like, give me some suspicion of disbelief. Give me, let me think something. But if everything happens, if right at the most opportune moment, the alien comes out of nowhere, it's like, come on, man. I just literally laughed because it's like, I'm not scared. I'm not, shocked. I'm not nervous about what's going to happen. I'm just laughing now because we're just getting silly now.
Yeah.
There's an hour left in the movie. She's got a bullet, thing in her. She's about to die, and he's going to go to the past. So,
this whole film, basically, start to finish, is Murphy's Law. Everything in this film that could possibly go wrong does go wrong. He doesn't get the job he wants at the start of the film. Then he's trying to have a nice Christmas with his family, and then the people from the past invade, and then he gets drafted, and then, they get sucked forward into the future way earlier than they should have done, and then their coordinates are off, and it's just like endless, like, oh no, like it was obvious where it was going all the time because it had to, because that was the way the story was telling. I was having these discussions with Andrew, like when we were watching the film, like, okay, I bet this is what happens next. And then that would happen. And then it would be again. And he's like, well, how are you doing this? And it's like, because it has to. That's the lore of the movie. Like, this is what has to happen next for this story to make any sense. And even then, sometimes it didn't make any sense. But I was entertained whilst I was questioning it. And that's what's important.
And so she dies getting the miracle cure. He goes back in time with the miracle cure. And the government's like, yeah, we don't really, whatever. It's the miracle. Who cares? We got our own stuff going on. It's like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. This miracle cure that they've just had this whole world devastating freaking epidemic of people being sucked into the future and killed and never coming back. For someone to come back and be like, I have the cure for the future problem. and then for them to be like, nah, mate, we're good. It doesn't make any sense. Like, you've literally lost, like, must be half of the world's population at this point. Let's be serious, because no one was coming back out of that place. They were fucking gone the moment they went through the door. So, like, I don't understand, like, how someone could be like, no, I don't want this. It doesn't make any sense.
And he was like, I have to take this back to the future. And they were like, well, the future gate is broken. And, well, you didn't have to take it back. The whole point of bringing it back was so y'all could duplicate it, not for the future people. So that was, anyway.
Yeah, and
there's a whole lot of dumbnesticity. So I don't want to grab about it all, but yeah, we got to get to the big dumbnesticities in this one.
Yeah.
The next biggest one, where like I was already out from the earlier moment, I'm out on this moment, and then the next biggest thing. So it just so happened, like, this is I don't know, the opposite of Murphy's Law, but everything you could possibly need is the exact thing you need. There's volcanic ash under the toes. If only I knew somebody that knew about volcanoes. I know somebody.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we have to have a biologist that can study this sample. I know a biologist. Yeah. I need somebody that can fly me a super secret plane into Russia. I know somebody that can do that. You know?
I love the whole point of us meeting his estranged dad was essentially just a setup that he was like some sort of government nut that could fly a plane and that would be willing to die for something stupid. So
yeah, and okay, so we get to Russia. They blow up, the iceberg or whatever. They get down. They find the alien spacecraft. And from there, they got two options. Option number one, we go tell the government. The government blows up the spacecraft. They do whatever, and the world is saved. Option number two, we do it ourselves. And they say, we're going to do it ourselves.
Yep. They're like, we're here. We're a group of people with some experience.
They literally just came from the future where one alien can take out a whole whatever, and they're going to take out the whole ship literally by themselves.
Yeah.
That's the plan. Me being a normal human, even if I was super confident, I'd be like, at least one person, just send one person back, say, hey, if this goes to shit, you call the government and say, hey, we're right here. All the aliens are here. You guys do your thing. But no, nobody does that.
Not even an email, not even a quick casual phone call to the president. Like, hey, Mr. President, those are aliens that were killing us in droves not that long ago. I found where they came from and I'm going to go down and explore, but here's the coordinates just in case.
Send a text, you literally have the proof. And if you guys are all killed, the aliens are released into the world. In fact, I thought that was going to be the twist or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, how normal time travel movies do, they actually started the whole thing. If the aliens, if the future people had never brought the past people never would have went looking for the aliens, and they never would have released the aliens, and they started the whole thing, and time is a circle, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But no, that's not this movie. Nope.
That's kind of what I thought it was going for. And then I also thought at one point that when they were talking about when they were trying to figure out where the aliens came from, when they said, oh, maybe they didn't come from up, maybe they dug up, I was thinking, oh, maybe this is a species from like the hollow earth or the underworld or something, and maybe tie it into for like fucking Godzilla or something. But no, it was just they were some sort of crashed alien spaceship that were coming here to wipe us out or something. I'm not entirely certain. And then
speaking of that moment, like they talked, like it was only him and his wife was like, well, maybe they were here the whole time. Yeah. Oh my gosh, we solved it, we cracked it. It's like literally nobody else.
Yeah.
Like so all the scientists know that there was no footage of spacecraft. There was no any proof of them coming. Nobody else thought they came from Russia. Maybe let's just search Russia. Yeah. We know where they're going to appear in 2050. So let's just go search there and wait and see what happens. Nobody thought that. It's just that guy's wife broke the code or whatever, So it's like that the Tyra Banks gif from the America's Next Top Model. We were rooting for you.
Exactly.
There's so much like that. It just began so good. I was rooting for this movie, and then every chance it got, it shit the bed.
It was just over the top in every way. And I was just thinking, like, it could have been a much better movie. I mean, I don't understand why they developed time travel to just go back in time and recruit people from the past to fight from them. Why not go back to before the battle started and give people a fighting chance to set up defenses before it starts? It doesn't make any sense as a battle strategy. And then on top of that, they've got this whole thing going on about how they don't take people to the future who are still alive in the future. Like, you have to be dead to time travel to the future or something like that. But how do they know that by killing them in the future, them not going back to the past? Like, but how do they know that that doesn't interrupt the entire timeline? Because those people do stuff in the past that is going to affect the future. How do they know that, you know, your dad isn't really this other guy that you sent to the future because, you know, he was dead in your time, but he's actually your real dad and you've just killed him before you're born and now you're gone? Like, it's paradoxical. It doesn't make sense.
Like, I love time travel movies for that reason. They bend over backwards to make everything make sense. But the minute you go back and land on that football field, everything changes.
Yeah.
So the scientists that were alive to build the time machine, their paths change now, you know? So maybe the same person isn't working in the same department in MIT. Like everything, the future changes the moment you come back in time.
Yeah.
So how you can just toss people into the future, like it makes no sense. The moment you come back, there's a new timeline.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, everything makes sense because the people that go back are the ones that discovered the aliens in the first place. But that's not what this movie does.
Yeah.
So nothing makes sense.
Yeah. Because that was what I was thinking, that like she's come up with this whole plan. She needs to get her dad to come to the future for some reason. She's the one that brings him here. And then she has this whole sob story about how he's not the same when he goes back. But if this has always happened, if this happened in your time, then surely this has always happened. So then you're just perpetuating a cycle. Like, Yeah,
so this breaks the rules of time travel, and that's a no-no in my book. I've seen all the time travel movies. I love Primer. I love Triangle. You can't do this. If you're gonna have a time travel movie, you can't make rules that make no sense. You gotta make the rules make sense, and this breaks the rules.
Yeah. And can we talk about how his daughter as well in the future, he tries so hard to save her and he's obsessed with going back to save her. But you have your daughter. She's there in the past. You're going back to her. The whole point is so that she doesn't have to die like this. You are saving her by going back. So why are you so obsessed with staying? Maybe I'm not a parent, so I don't understand. But
you're saving a different daughter.
I guess.
Now he needs both daughters. That's what time. See, you got to pay attention to the rules.
But it doesn't make sense. You can't have two people existing in the same timeline. It doesn't make any sense.
See? Well, none of this makes sense. That ship sailed a long time ago. Yes, I mean that if you're listening up to this point, you know that's basically what this is. There are a whole bunch of things that break the rules, that don't make any sense, that are just stuff that happens in a movie because people like stuff happening in a movie. So that's basically what this is. I still had a good time. Like I said, especially the first, first 60 minutes. That was dope. I really enjoyed it. But then this movie shit the bed, and like they had, you saw it. You know what happens. It's a mess.
I mean, it's a beautifully shot film. I mean, I feel like I always have that kind of positive to say about these films, is that they're beautiful to look at, which is true. I mean, filmmaking's come a very long way, and it's rare to come across a film that doesn't look good these days. So
let's talk for a minute about that. This movie cost $200 million, right? So the thing that didn't make sense and made sense to me at the same time, this felt like an Amazon Prime movie.
Yes.
This was a mess. It didn't make a whole lot of sense, but it just came out on a streaming service. It starred Chris Pratt. I was like, okay, that's what happened. It's just a big budget nonsense movie that gets people to watch Prime Video. It's starring Chris Pratt. That's why it exists. But no, this was a Paramount Pictures movie. This was supposed to come out in theaters, but Amazon just bought it and then put it on Amazon. So at some point, the people at Paramount spent $200 million on this script.
Yeah. I'm guessing most of it went on, number one, hiring.
The special effects.
Hiring, and then kind of stuff, and then special effects and stuff. But yeah, like you said, it does feel like an Amazon Prime movie. And I feel like Prime original movies always have the same sort of coloring. They're always kind of like a little bit blue tintish. if that
Yeah.
makes sense. I feel like that's how I always know it's like an Amazon produced one. I feel like Nomadland was the same way. It had that kind of like grainy blue tint to the look of it. Like I feel like Amazon must have their own like copyrighted look, or maybe they just whoever signs off the films must like this certain filter or something over the films. But yeah, I feel like it's in a few of theirs.
Yeah. It feels like what a direct to DVD or a sci-fi movie felt like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
That's just what it feels like. But no, this was a $200 million movie that just Amazon Prime bought. And I don't know how they made their money back because people streaming it for free. Prime comes free. I have Prime because I like 2-day shipping. The movies is just a bonus. So I don't know how it was worth $200 million for them to buy this movie. But hey, let Jeff Bezos do what Jeff Bezos do. But,
No one tells him what to do anymore. He just does whatever the hell he wants, including jang into space. So
Indeed. Okay, so we've shared our thoughts. You know what you got. If you listen to this point, you know what you got. You saw it, you loved it, you hated it, you liked it, whatever. Before we wrap up on this, Sam, do you have any final thoughts? Anything last things you want to say about the movie?
I honestly don't think Chris Pratt can do any wrong in my books. I don't think there is a role of his that I don't enjoy. Like he could be in any film, and I feel like I would just enjoy it because he's in it. He brings a certain life to scripts. He just has that kind of likability, which is probably why he's so successful as an actor. But yeah, so if nothing else, this film is worth it for Chris Pratt and just pure entertainment. I probably will watch this film several times. In fact, I'm going to add it to my list of films that I will just put on when I need something to cheer me up or just, just watch aimlessly. It's one of them. So I enjoyed it as much as I griped about it.
I mean, agree. I don't know who else could have been in this role that would make me want to see it, and that could have pulled off the family dynamics. We barely touched on it, but the father kind of reconnecting with the son in this movie, plus the son not reconnecting, but time connecting with his daughter, just the dual, that's what I was talking about earlier, the dual fatherhood aspects, because his fatherhood going up and down. He really, he just seems like the sweet family guy who can also pull off action stuff. Like he's perfect for this movie.
He is.
The movie's not great. The script is a mess, but he is perfectly cast in this movie. So, he does kind of make it. But again, like I said, it's not, it's what we're talking about. It's the movies that studios make. They don't care about they had $200 million. If they wanted to, they could have hired the right people to make this fully make sense and make people care about it and that's not what they want. They want butts in seats and they want people watching it, and whatever formulaic algorithm they churned out said that this would work, and hell it did. So who am I to complain? I enjoyed it. I'm over here recommending it, so it worked. And the algorithms got me, and I apologize to my, I apologize to the people 20 years from now listening to this, because us saying we like this movie is what led to y'all getting whatever garbage you guys are getting now.
Yeah, so. Well, whatever drivel that is now on your screens is because we've been so dumbed down by Hollywood today and their money-making machine that they basically are just going to play Pantone colors on a screen and put a bit of music over the top and call it art. So good luck in the future, guys.
Indeed. Okay. Well, that is it for our review of The Tomorrow War, available right now on Amazon Prime. Before we get to our final send-off, Sam, is there a way people can follow you on the internet? How do you want people to check you out?
I am on Instagram at justbase. That's at just and then BASS. It's the only social I've got going right now. I'm planning some stuff for a TikTok potentially in the future, but it's still in planning stages. So yeah, at just based on Instagram, and you'll catch my vacation photos soon because I'm going back home to the Isle of Man, and I'm super stoked. So there's going to be hella pictures on there of the Isle of Man. So if you like green, you like wind, you like rain, and you like old castles, my Instagram is going to be the place to be, yo.
Indeed. All right, looking forward to that. Again, that's at JustBase on Instagram. Follow her, check her out. On Twitter, I am up to 8 followers. Congratulations. I'm a superhero now. I'm kind of famous now. I've got 8 followers. I'm kind of a big deal.
Yeah,
So.
you have to. Just turn that 8 sideways, you got infinity. So go you.
Yeah, if you're listening to this, check me out at My Movie Fix Pod, P-O-D, on Twitter, My Movie Fix Pod. If you have questions, comments, concerns, send me an email at my moviefixpodcast@gmail.com. That's where I can be reached. And tell a friend, tell a loved one, tell somebody that likes movies. If you're listening to this, tell them to check it out. If they don't like movies, lie to them. Tell them if they like history, tell them it's a history podcast. Don't worry about why it's called My Movie Fix. Just lie to them. And if you've been lied to, and this is you listening to it and you're upset, but you made it all the way through, tell me about that too. I just want to hear about it.
Yeah, I mean, if you were lied to and you still made it through all the way, then good for you. You've got a strong constitution. We like you. Stick around. Tell us how to improve and come back for more.
You learned something new about yourself. You thought you didn't like movie podcasts, but you sat all the way through this. So congratulations. You learned something new about yourself.
You love listening to people talk a lot of nonsense about films. So congratulations and welcome to the club. Okay, enough of the attitude.
Indeed. Okay, so that leaves us to our final section of the podcast, our send-off. Something that brought us joy during the week that we want to share with you to help you get through your week. So without further ado, Sam, what do you have to give to the people?
Well, last week I told you all to go outside and enjoy nature and get back to reading and non-technology. This week, I'm reversing it. I'm telling you to stay inside, play some games. I just got Mass Effect, the remake of the Mass Effect trilogy for my PlayStation. Mass Effect is my favorite game series of all time. This week I have been playing it pretty much non-stop, and it still is amazing as it was the first time I played it over 10 years ago. So get inside, get those PlayStations, Xboxes, Nintendo Entertainment Systems out, whatever you have going, computers, I don't care. Just get inside and get gaming. Lose yourself in the music, the moment, I don't know. Get into it. Get some games out and enjoy just Fantasyland, I guess. I love Mass Effect because I want to be in that universe. I want to be exploring space and being on the other side of this whole entire galaxy and seeing what else is out there. If Starfleet became a thing tomorrow, I would sign up in a heartbeat. I want to be off this planet and into the ether. So let's go.
Indeed. All right, that's Mass Effect on PlayStation right now. Go play it. Go, even if it's not Mass Effect, go play a game. Go enjoy yourself. Get your minds off this world. Enjoy yourself. And my little parting gift is actually going to be music. I'm a Jaden Smith fan. Unironically, unsarcastically, Jaden Smith, or just he goes by Jaden now, no longer Jaden Smith, but son of Will Smith. He makes music. And I like it.
Okay.
I've been listening to him for years. Back when, actually, I like the older stuff. What I went back and listened to was the Cool Tape Volume 2 that came out in 2014. Yeah, so I've been listening to Jaden for a long time. I don't know, it's kind of vibe. This was back before he started cursing. This is his old stuff. And PCH, one of my favorite songs, it was called PCH Cruising back when it came out. But yeah, it's just he makes a vibe. I really like his kind of style. And what was the next album? Sunset Tapes that came out I think a couple years ago, 2 years ago. And like he has a song called Play This on a Mountain at Sunset. That's literally the name of the track. And I haven't been to a mountain yet, but I can picture it when I listen to it. It's just a vibe. He makes dope music. I like his sound. He reminds me of Childish Gambino. I was a huge Childish Gambino fan back in the day.
Yeah.
Before he kind of changed. His very first concert in Dallas, I was there at the very front. It was at the Palladium in Dallas. It was a super small room. His second concert, I was there. I just bought a trench coat type jacket. It was super hot in there because I was 20 something when I was older than all the kids there, but I really loved that jacket. I didn't want to take it off, so I was super hot. But I was at the very front. Like I was a huge Childish Gambino fan, and Jaden reminds me of that kind of vibe he used to have before he changed to the kind of neo soul type music Childish Gambino makes now. But I really like Jaden, his music, and if you've never listened to it, go check it out. He's got a dope vibe, and I liked it. So yeah.
I'm gonna have to check him out. I didn't know he even made music. I thought it was just his sister, but I haven't been checking out new music in quite a while, so I will have to check him out. And in fact, I am going to be on top of a mountain at sunset in a couple of weeks, so I will play you that song and send you the video.
You gotta Instagram it.
I will. It'll be all over my Instagram.
Show yourself playing this song on a mountain at sunset. That's a vibe.
You're gonna get that vibe. Don't worry, it's gonna be all over my Instagram.
Indeed. Okay, well, that is our send-offs, and that is our episode. We thank you very much for listening, but I got my fix. So that's it for today. See you guys next time.
Peace out, bro.